Coach Stone Podcast.
This is Coach Stone Podcast number 7. I want to thank everyone for listening to the Coach Stone Podcast. Last week we had the Coach Rob Everett from Bridgewater College. I want to thank him with the Go Army Edge stuff. I want to also thank JC Hawks Radio. I want to thank JC Hawks Sports Network for letting me do this. I appreciate it. I know I only said I was going to do it twice a week, but it looks like it's getting bigger. I'm having a lot more viewers, I've heard. So I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for listening. And I hope at the end of every podcast, you can take one or two things away from you. Today's guest, I'm going to tell you a personal level. I know this man very well, and I want to thank him from the bottom of my heart for, we've talked ever since 2010 when we met, and we never stopped talking since. But our guest for tonight is Eugene Crosby, O-line coach, tight end coach at Campbellsville University. Coach, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing, man?
Doing great. I mean, I just feel so blessed to be in the Coach Stone Podcast. I mean, you're a professional coach, international coach, professional writer. On top of being a teacher and a husband of, a husband and a father of 4. I mean, it's a true honor, man.
It's 5, Gene. You forgot about the last one.
5. Boy, we've known each other too long.
Hey, and before we start this podcast and we talk about like the game plan and everything, don't say like all these little you're giving me all these shots, because you're a national coach too, and we'll talk about it in a second. So I just want you to know that.
Well, that's only because of you, but yeah.
All right. Well, hey, listen, cream always rises to the top, man. You know what I mean? And when you and Coach Wilson, when Coach Chappie called me and asked me for 2 great American coaches, I gave him 2, and there you go. But let's do this, Coach Crosby, if you don't mind. The viewing audience, if you have not listened to the podcast, it's a little different than other ones. The game plan is very simple. We're going to have a pregame. Coach Crosby is going to do his little bio and talk about himself, and he better talk highly of himself, because he is probably one of the best offensive line coaches that I know. We're going to do a kickoff question, first drive question. We're going to do a halftime show. We'll get the marching band out. I know Coach Crosby always loved that. We'll do the kick return question, and then we'll do the second drive question after half, and then we'll do a 2-minute warning with your wisdom, Coach, and then we'll call it a day. If we have to go to overtime, we will. If we have to order some Little Caesars, because that's all we always do, we usually talk. When I'm going to get Little Caesars, I always give you a call. You always make fun of me for that. So, okay. So, Coach, let's start the pregame real quick. Why don't you introduce yourself to the listening audience? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, this will be my 15th season coaching college football. I've worked at every level of the NCAA, and now I'm working in the NAIA. I've been in the Pac-12 now. It was the Pac-10 back when I was in there. I worked at Oregon State for 1 season under Coach Riley. I was at Youngstown State under John Haycock. I've worked at every level of football as far as scholarship, non-scholarship, did a bunch of years at Division III. Met you at Beloit College. We were there together from 2010 to 2012, and just coached offensive line, coached running backs, been an offensive coordinator on the international level, and just love the game of football, man.
And again, Coach, how many years have you been doing it for?
This will be my 15th season.
15th season, and that's all in college coaching, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, for the first kickoff question, okay, and take your time on this. Please be very elaborate. Offensive line is like your specialty, okay? When we first met at Beloit in 2010, tell everybody, as a college coach, what are your vital things you're looking for in an offensive lineman? I mean, listen, people say there's talent, there's athletic ability, there's things that I saw you do in pre-practice when we first met. Even though we were on the opposite sides of the ball, and Coach Brand had me in my little bubble with him and Coach Wilson, and you on your side with Coach Paul and Coach Belize and all those other Coach Skinner. We'll give a shout out to Coach Skinner. But explain to us what's some vital attributes you look for in offensive lineman.
Well, I mean, the Beloit days were some special days. We had days where we only had six or seven guys on the whole squad as far as O-line wise. But the thing that I always look for is the one thing that I can't really teach with a player. When I'm watching film and evaluating a young man, the one thing that I absolutely look for is the ability to finish, and the want to is something I talk about a lot with my players. I can't teach you drive. I can't teach you the drive inside of you that's not going to let you be beat by that guy. Because I've had a lot of good offensive linemen that were not good athletes. Being a good athlete is something that's great, but I need an athlete that's good enough. He has to be able to run well enough, because the truth is, outside of all the positions on the football field, the offensive line can really be guys that are work hard, blue-collar guys with not a ton of, great athletic ability. One young man that comes to mind is one that you and I know very well. It's Hayden Simonis. Okay, Hayden Simonis wound up getting a tryout with the Packers after the 2013 season. Well, when Hayden came to us, Hayden was 6'8", 310 pounds, and could barely bench press 135. When that kid was finished, he was bench pressing over 300 pounds, and he went from not a great athlete to a good enough athlete to get a look at from the NFL. Okay, and all that came from was his hard work and his desire to be better than what he was. And if you get that in a young man, and you put together with some ability, not a ton of ability, but some ability, you're going to make yourself a good offensive lineman. And if you can get 4 or 5 of those guys, now you've got yourself a good to great offensive line, because those guys are going to refuse to lose. So that's the first thing I look for.
Okay. And then with that, staying with the kickoff question, you had your attributes right. What's other things you look for? Is there anything else, like, you talked about moving, you talked about feet kind of, sort of, I believe, in a way. Mm-hmm. But is there anything else you look for after any of that's done? Because, like, let's say you teach him, right? You can teach him, it goes right out the window. Hayden was phenomenal. I remember that guy. I remember whenever we coached him, we talked about this one time. He has to sit down. You can't have, there's no eye to eye with him, right? Because you're like, oh, hello, hey, how you doing? You're like looking up to a skyscraper. Because, like, that's the funny thing. People don't realize, and he was the nicest guy. I mean, we had a lot of nice guys we coached together at the college level together. But, like, he was that one person. He's like Gilbert Brown, right? He puts that helmet on, he's a whole different person, man. Yeah. And I don't know if that was something, like, is there anything else that you could add to that, of that stuff?
The one thing that I always, one thing that we do here at Campbellsville University, and something that I've done for years, is I always want to talk to the high school coach and specifically the position coach, because I want to know if the kid is coachable. Because you'll get guys that'll come in and think they know everything. You're not going to teach me anything that I haven't learned already. And that's something that's always hard for me to deal with, because the transition from a high school offensive lineman to a college offensive lineman is a very, very different thing. It's almost like two different worlds of football, essentially. And the way that I break it down, and high school coaches are absolute salt of the earth, and there are a lot of great ones out there, okay, just like there are a lot of great college coaches. But, the difference between myself being a college coach is this is what I'm paid to do. This is my profession. I don't teach on the side and then do something else. So I don't have a lot of time to deal with kids that don't want to take what I'm teaching them and apply that knowledge. So coachability is the biggest thing. I need guys to take what I teach them and then apply that to what happens on the field. And if I can, and that's the number 2 thing to me. And it's almost like, work ethic and coachability are 1A and 1B, essentially for me. But the coachability is a really, really big thing, because offensive line is unlike a lot of positions in the field, it's 5-1. That's something I talk to my players about a lot because, you got to have 5 guys all working together. Even if you're not working in a zone scheme where you're doing a lot of double teams, even if it's just ISO blocking, everybody's got to be on the same page where they know who they have, what number they got, that sort of stuff. And there can't be a lot of confusion, so there has to be a lot of seamless communication. Sometimes it can just be a look and a point and different things along those lines. So, and that's where the coachability comes in, because now they have to be able to work together as a unit, which is, as an offensive line coach, that's the thing I really have to do. I have to get my 5 guys to work together.
Awesome. Okay, Coach. There's the whistle. We are on our first drive question. That was a great kickoff question. First drive question, okay? Now, this might make you laugh, okay? We're doing some name dropping, right? We've been dropping, all our guys from the back of the play.
I know you busted out Chris Brand, and, God bless him. I love always be thankful to Chris Brand for giving me that job.
Yes. But we got to make sure we got to bring on Mark Anderson, Joe, Bucky, those guys too. I mean, I don't want to miss those guys. I mean, those guys were really the great people of that, But the first drive question, we did not talk about. I don't think I said his name. Sam Perryman, right? We love that guy's awesome.
Yes,
I remember the one time, and this is the lead up to your question. Like I told you earlier when we were talking, it's going to make you laugh. I remember the first time Sam and you were talking about zone turn and man turn, right, with the corners, and you're chuckling with it. So like that, like some coaches don't understand the man zone to zone turn. I mean, you understood it. You just thought of a concept how he taught it. How do you teach, like any listener, youth, high school, college, overseas, give us your fundamentals of blocking. Like everyone has like the feet, squeeze, blah, 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 the strike, the stick, whatever. What do you say to your players? I know, and this is for all the viewers. Listen, if you heard him earlier, he only had like 7 linemen. Was it 7 or 6?
Oh, boy. I mean, that first year I had 6.
He had 6 linemen, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Division
my gosh.
3 for 9 games. 9 games, 6 players. And like some of them were playing hurt, honestly.
Yes, they were.
Nothing major, but it was like, sprained ankle, things like that. And then like eventually, I honestly think the most you ever had was 12 maybe, right? At Beloit?
No, I mean, honestly, that my second year at Beloit, or my last year in 2012, when Alex Cook was running the offense, we had 9.
9.
I had 9. Yeah. I never had 2 lines at Beloit. That was always the goal.
and that's why this is why I wanted your first drive question. How you're teaching them how to block, they're getting the job done. I'm not saying all of them are all conference, but like you were saying earlier, all you need is the heart, the work ethic, and the coachability. And that's what all 9 or 6 or 7 or 8 did for you. So if you don't mind telling the viewers, listening audience, how do you teach the blocking? Like, how do you break it down? What do you tell them? Where do they put their hands? Everything like that.
Well, I mean, it all starts with your feet. So it all starts with your stance, first and foremost. So you make sure the young man has a good balanced stance. The days of the old, the flat back, come out, face mask first, and then bring your hands later. Those are kind of gone just because defensive linemen move so much. So what we really focus on here at Campbellsville, and it's something I've been teaching. I taught it before I left St. Olaf. I was teaching it at Benedict College when I was there. It's really, your hands and feet work together. So I always start with our stance. Once the stance is good, now we're working to take our first step. So say it's an inside zone step, and I'm the right guard. I'm going to take, and the play's going to my side. I'm going to take a quick first step with my right foot, usually about 6-inch jab step. But at the same time, I'm loading my punch, because the punch is the absolute most essential thing that we do as offensive linemen, okay? Because what that does is the punch is when we fit our hands onto the defender, and we're trying to aim for the chest plate, but my body has to go with it, okay? So my first step, I load my hands, I bring them back right about to my, to my breast, to my chest plate here with my thumbs up, and I'm ready to hit. And then with my second step, I'm fitting my hands. The one thing that my guys hear me say a lot, it's something that we work every day, is load fit. It's a progression. So my first step, load, boom. I take my step, I load my hands. 2 steps. I take my first step, and then my second step goes right to the defender. And as I'm stepping, my hands are loading, so my whole body's coming with me. And that's where my punch comes in, because if my hips are behind me, my body's behind me, and I get that good punch on the second step, as I come through on the third step, I have control of the defender, and now I can take him whichever direction I need to take him, whether it's a base block out, whether it's a down block, or whether I'm working a double team with the center or the right tackle who I'm working with eyes to the next defender, which is usually the inside linebacker down to the inside.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, to piggyback with that question, now, like every offensive line coach, right? One, they never hold, right? There's no holding an offensive line, right? Okay, unless
you're allowed to, you know, but yeah, you know, as long as you're within the chest plate, you are allowed to grab. Yes.
Okay, so we don't hold anyway, so unless you're caught. The biggest question I always do, and I want your personal opinion on this, and then we'll go to halftime to follow up the question. You talked about your fit in the hands, you know, the loads fit. I really like that. You know, the punch, thumbs up. But here's my thing for pulling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Skip pull, open pull. What do you recommend? What, like if you're in youth, middle school, high school, college, what do you recommend for every level? Or what do you like better? You know what I mean? So skip pull or open pull?
It always depends on what the offense is. I'll be completely honest with you. Okay.
Okay.
So what I mean is, if you are a under center, downhill, power, gap scheme offense, okay, the skip pull is going to be kind of not what you're. It's not going to fit what you're trying to do. So what I mean is, a lot of times with a skip pull, you're going to give a little ground, and a lot of times it's angle blocking. So what I mean is, when I skip pull, the thing that I do is I stand up and cross my feet and basically give up all of my power because I'm standing up, okay? There's one line that always works in every level of football at every position of football. Low man wins, no question, right?
Yep.
You were a linebackers coach for a lot of years, right? Low man wins. That you hear that at every level. I've heard it every season I've coached, okay? Well, if I'm skip pulling, a skip requires me to stand up. I can't skip from a crotch, from a loaded position with my legs bent. Okay, so obviously I'm gonna have a hard time getting low if I'm skip pulling. It's just that simple. Okay, so now us here at Campbellsville, we don't do the skip pull because we are a gap scheme, downhill, under center offense when it comes to our run game. So we're just a open and run sort of group. That's kind of how we have to do it. Now, back in the days at Beloit, when Ethan Pohl, who I am eternally grateful for, learned a ton of football from that man. We were a downhill gap scheme, but we used the skip pull because it helped our guys see what was going on. Because, like you said before, Mateo Lausdorff was a great center for us, okay? But Mateo was, about 5'8", 240 pounds?
He was a linebacker, remember? He was
Absolutely.
A linebacker first. And I said, in the meeting, this guy would be a pretty good center, no offense.
Yeah, and he was a 2-year starter, and I'm pretty sure after I left, he might have gotten honorable mention all-conference. Okay, Mateo is now a high school coach and does a great job, okay? But with guys like that, you can't really be a downhill get right after him team because those guys are generally going to be smaller than the guys we're going against. So we got to kind of angle guys, and that's where the skip pull comes in. Now, when you're working at the lower levels, the skip pull is a little bit different than when you have a dancing bear at, the Division I level. So if you look at like a Wisconsin, they could skip pull all day and all night because, their guards are 6'6", 340 pounds, and they're running 4.8 40s. But at the lower levels, you got to kind of be a little bit more creative as far as putting your guys in the position to do well.
Let me ask you a question there with that question you just said. Would it, if you widen your splits, right, and you're not under center, like you were talking when you said earlier about the pulling, old school type of block, like the old school power gap scheme, the 21 personnel, whatever, or any type of personnel, but it was mainly under center. If youth teams now open up their alignment, widen people out, shotgun it, bend the line, you know how everyone bends the line now, so the kid you can't get stunned on as easy. And if the kid's athletic enough, do you think at the youth level you want maybe some kids to skip pole, or would you just say just teach everybody one way?
At the youth level, I would definitely skip pole because it helps the kids to see. That's the big advantage of the skip pole, is it gets you off the line so you can actually see what's going on, just in case say the defensive end cuts across the tackle's face, and now the hole is kind of just mucked up, and now you got to go around. Okay, that's where the skip pole kind of really helps you, because if you're pulling right down the line, if you're an A gap insert power team, which a lot of teams are becoming now. They're running power right up the chute, A gap to A gap. Well, if that's mucked up and you're just doing your regular 90-degree open step run and run downhill, well, you're not going to be able to see that.
Correct.
So that's where the skip pole kind of comes in. And Ethan and I had that discussion when we were at Beloit, because he wanted to do the skip pole. We had done it at Youngstown, because that's where I was before. I was at Youngstown State before I came to Beloit, and I just noticed that those guys had issues with really kind of digging guys out. But when he and I talked about it, he talked to me, and it made sense in the fact that they can see a little bit better. So, and then once we really started running it that way, power becomes more of a versatile play as opposed to it's a B gap insert, and that's where we're going, right? Now heaven help a running back if he wants to cut power back, because now he's taking himself to that backside inside linebacker. That's going to be an issue to get to. Okay, you remember T. T always wanted to cut that one back. That's back in the Beloit days. Yeah, and he got smacked a few times. He broke a couple, but he got smacked.
He did break a couple. I'll give it. But the one thing with T, I'll give him really big props on this. He'd cut that thing back, get walloped, he'd get right back up.
Yeah, tough kid, no doubt about it. Terrence was awesome. Terrence is a tough young man. So, but yeah, I would probably teach the skip pole, at the youth level, just because it's like I said before, it can really help kids kind of see where the hole is, or see if they need to bounce it as the puller to lead the running back outside.
Okay, perfect, Coach. There's the whistle. We're done with the first drive. We're going to go to halftime really quick. We'll come back. We're going to get some water during halftime. Maybe talk. I got a couple questions. We're going to talk about the junior Outback team in Australia that you're doing, and then the question before that, I have a really good one for you about advice for young college guys getting into college coaching. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with the Coach Stone podcast and Coach Crosby right after halftime.
The Big Four, a physical education book written by Coach Anthony Stone, can be purchased through the following locations: Amazon, iTunes, BarnesandNoble.com, and Kobo.
Brunch, $30.
Hey, that's okay, Wendy. That was a good carry. You're still the man. You're the man.
Latte, $4.
Shake it off, Johnny. Rub some dirt on it.
New piano, $3,000.
All right, guys. They're not saying boo. They're saying movers.
Supporting your team. Priceless.
All right, Bobby. You still got the best arm in the neighborhood.
There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
This is BCAF, right?
All right, so we're back. We're back from halftime. We got Coach Crosby. He's the Campbellsville University O-line tight ends coach. He's also the offense coordinator for the junior Outback junior team, or Australian Outback junior team. Coach Crosby, we're back. We're back from halftime. I hope you got enough water and stuff. Are you all good? Are you ready to roll?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Okay, so here we go. Kickoff return question. This was a funny thing. Remember when we got this turf the first time, and I told CB, give me the ball. We'll run it back on the opening kickoff. And I loved it because I don't know if you did, Coach Crosby. I remember every practice I got fired. I don't know if you did, but I did. He's like,
yeah, there were a few. There were a few. You got to get Chris Brand on to really tell some of those stories, but
yeah. Like I think Coach Brand fired me about 6 or 7 times a week. But the funny story about the kick return question is the reason why I use this in my game plan is we were playing Grinnell, right? We asked for the ball. It was the first time we ever got turf at Beloit College, and the first time the ball was touched by a Beloit player, Kenny Williams, boom, took it up the sideline, touchdown. So, and that was awesome. But okay, so let's get with the kick return question, Coach. You're over 15 years. You're about 15 years, maybe over 15 years now of college coaching. What advice do you have for those younger coaches? Besides telling them, like I would say, if you have a fiance or a wife right now, make sure she's a football wife, because a lot of times that strains the relationship because you're so far, you're so much away. But what other advice can you give them in a positive thought, or tips, going to clinics, things like that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's so different from when we first got in, right? Because you and I are roughly around the same age. I mean,
correct.
Geez, man, we were working with like VHS tapes. Everybody had a different editing system, right? I mean, there was like DSV. If you were lucky enough, you had XOs. There was web. There was game time. There was just so many of them. And now it's all so uniform. I mean, you were a GA at one point in your career. Drive exchange.
Oh, I love Sundays, right? Just drive the whole 3 hours just to go get a video.
Absolutely. Yeah, to meet at an exit, and then you got to find a place, and that was really before text messaging. That was before cell phones. I mean, we're dating ourselves here. So let me just give the advice to the young cats. Okay.
Yeah, right.
It is. So it's really easy to kind of chase the dragon, which is one thing that I say. And what I mean is, like, you get these guys that they're always chasing that next job and chasing that next job. And I just got here, but man, my buddy's got this place over here. Mike Wilson, who is a mutual friend of ours, and who is one of the best men I've come across in coaching. Mike is a true friend. Okay, Mike has told me for years to be where your feet are. Okay, if you're not in a great situation, hey, I'm not making enough money and all that sort of stuff, just make your position as good as you can. And then if you are true to what you're doing and you believe in yourself, opportunities will come. I truly do believe that. And the one thing that I talk to every young coach about is ask good questions, but always continue to learn. Because there's something you can take from every person on your staff, and there's something you can take from every situation, and there's something you can take from every program you're associated with. Don't be one of those guys that there's nothing that guy can teach me. There's nothing I can learn from that. Because, we have a young man who just graduated for us, Hunter Brown. He was an All-American quarterback for us. I've learned so many things from that young man, right? And it's just because Hunter's one of those guys that just loves football. And he comes to my office and we'll just talk ball. And it's like, man, wow, that's an idea. Man, that's a way to look at it, because you just never know. Most of what we do as far as coaching is conversation, sitting down with coaches, talking ball, going up on the board. Hey, I got this idea for this new blitz. Hey, I got this tweak to this inside zone play. Hey, I got this idea as far as this pass route. And then you put them on the board, and then the ideas just kind of start just popping out. And now you've just created something, And that's the amazing thing about the profession, is there's just so much more to learn. I learned so much working with Chris Brand and Ethan Pohl and Mike Wilson and Mark Anderson and Buck and Joe and all those great guys that we worked with. I still talk to Aaron Skinner. I still learn stuff from that guy. Aaron is just one of those guys. He's always thinking about football. And those are the conversations. You and I, we talk. You had the really the unbelievable honor of being a part of the first coaching staff, the first Outback women's national team for Australia. That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm hearing you talk about things that you went through up there and stuff that you're doing on defense, and what you guys did on offense and what John did and all that stuff. And it's like, man, I'm just learning. It's like I'm sitting at the feet of my grandfather when he would tell me the stories about World War II and, working at the GE plant, all that sort of stuff. It's just you got to always be willing to kind of open your ears and learn. And some guys are, some guys aren't. And that's all right, man.
The thing too you say is like, open your ears. The one thing I always say is you got to be a sponge, right, or a fly on the wall. I remember, thinking, my wife last year surprised me with my birthday to get me down to Clemson, and just listen to Dobo Sweeney speak was phenomenal. And if you guys get a chance, any listener in here, this March when they do their coaching clinic again, if you can get in there in the end of the March, I recommend you go. They take you, they treat you like as a coach. They don't treat you as a lower coach, if that makes sense. And, even the assistants at Clemson College, Clemson University, they do a great job. They even let me go to the back room and X and O with one of the coaches, one of their speakers, and their assistant coach there. And I was very, very, very thankful for that. And, like you said, you just gotta listen sometimes. And there's some ideas you can get just bouncing off these ideas off each other, But I think that's phenomenal, Coach. With that being said, Coach, there's the whistle. We're going to go with the second drive question, okay? Now, with you guys are going to be – you were in China 2 years ago. This year you guys are going to be in Mexico City, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be in Mexico City for the Australian Junior Outback team. You're the offense coordinator. I was very fortunate, like you said, about being the first ever women's defense coordinator for the ladies Outback team. I was also the very first defensive coordinator for the USA women's team, and there's a lot of things there, and it's great. Like if I have a chance to go back for the ladies, I'll tell you right now, when the job opportunity comes, I will definitely apply for it. I did it. I had a great time. I think there's a lot of things we learned from the first time with the bumps and everything, but I think we could really definitely make the product way better than it was. But why don't you talk to us about, your challenges, like I was doing Skype calls. They're a day and a half ahead of us, talking to your head coach, Coach Chappie, Coach Kerr, great guy I've talked to numerous times. I've talked to a lot of those coaches before. But just tell us the insight. What's it like to you? I know what I went through, but tell the audience what it's like and how you're preparing for this thing. And also I think you got your Victorian players, right? You had the
Victoria came in. Those boys just came in.
It's the first.
I want to say in the fall.
Yeah, the first time ever Victorian players are playing on a junior Outback team, I believe. I don't hold me to it. I think it is. I know the ladies. It's one thing I fought for when we interviewed for this job. I said to Coach Hillstead, I said, hey, we need the whole country. We can't just take this group and that group. It's, Australia is Australia, right? And now that you guys have that with the Victorians in, that's awesome. But explain all that stuff. Tell me, just tell the audience everything. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so they're 15 hours ahead. So that's always a challenge. Now I'm an early morning guy, so I'm usually up about 4 or 5 a.m. just about every day. So it doesn't throw my day off too much when I gotta get on the phone with Coach Chapman, or talk to Coach Kerr, or talk with Coach Bosey, or any of the other coaches. But man, what an honor to really be a part of that whole thing. First and foremost, this is my second World Cup with these guys. I say World Cup. It's like the World Cup of football, I think, is what it's called, American football. Just an honor, just to be able to, pay the game forward. That's given me so much, to go to a country that's really just developing the sport. So you're really on the grassroots part of it. I feel really great about, being a part of that process. The challenges, are that, you're working with coaches that, this is their passion. Right? So these guys just love it. I mean, they don't get paid $1 to do this stuff. I mean, they actually have to pay to go do these camps. They pay to go do the World Cup. So these guys are just, they're just so knowledge hungry. So it is, the challenge is giving them enough knowledge, to be quite honest with you, because
we don't want to blow their mind. You don't want to blow their mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just they just want to know, and they want to. They ask so many questions. How do you put the playbook together? How do you teach this? How do you teach that? Because one of the things about being the OC with the team is that I actually coach the quarterbacks. So I don't really touch the offensive line, which is my specialty, which is what I've done for 10 years now. So that challenge is a lot of fun because I'm doing something else, which just keeps my energy going. And then the energy coming from the kids because they are so thirsty for football knowledge. And they're just, it's just an amazing experience. It really is. Challenges? Absolutely. No question. Because, we went 2-2. We got them their first 2 wins in international play. And that's not especially true because they had to win a game. They had to beat New Zealand, which they had done. Yeah, they had done before I became a part of the program. But we got the 2 wins in the tournament, which were fantastic. You talk about the energy and the positivity of the program and really just the payoff of all the hard work and the money that these kids put into it. To get these guys a win in front of 20,000 people in China was just, humbling. Absolutely humbling. The guys that I work with down there, the guys that have become my friends, Coach Rowdy, Coach Bosey, Coach, Wolfman.
Coach Wolfman.
So thankful to Coach Chappie. I learn from those guys when I go down there, honestly, because again, they have these different ideas, and they're working with kids. They train twice a week, and then they go out and play 2 games. How amazing is that? So they have these ideas about things that they've done, and it's just like you say, I'm a sponge, right? I'm going to go down, we're going to talk ball, and I'm going to learn, and they're going to learn, and we're going to put this thing together. And I'm just so proud of everything that we've done with that program. Off that World Cup team, we now have 11 kids in the United States playing football. That might not have gotten that.
And they didn't pay for any of that, right? You guys did that. Your Junior Outback team helped them with that for free, right?
Mark Wilson and I, Mark is the defensive coordinator.
Correct.
Mark is the defensive line coach at Graceland University in Iowa. He and I, I have 2 young men on my campus right now from those teams, but the rest are kind of scattered throughout the U.S. And, no, we didn't make $1 off it.
Yeah, and that's what it should be. That's what it should be. You talk about it all the time, right? You were talking about earlier when you were talking about coach's advice, right? Remember the VHS when we had to drive? Listen, there's huddle, right? And I'm going to tell you this right now. Any future person that wants to play college football, one, you got to have the grades, right, Gene? We all know that.
Yes.
You got to be coachable, too. You better be coachable. Don't come in with a chip on your shoulder. If you have a chip on your shoulder, you better be able to back it up. And here's the other thing. If you have huddle, listen, follow me on huddle, Coach Stone or Anthony Stone. Follow Coach Crosby. Follow Coach Mark Wilson. Follow one of us 3. Send us film. If they don't want you, I'll send it somewhere for nothing. You see what I'm saying? Because, these kids, like you said, just like our ladies that we had, they're super hungry. There's so much has been accomplished after we left with, leagues starting up, from all over, with SA starting up, Southern Australia, Western Australia, starting leagues up. With the juniors team, you come back with 2 wins. You just said it. They have 11 kids that are in college right now. 11 kids overseas. I guarantee we can make that number double, triple if we share this podcast everywhere. And that goes for any country. Any country. You got a good film? You think you got good film? Send the game film to either Coach Wilson, Coach Crosby, myself, and we'll share it out there. Make sure you have your grades and everything in there. I hope you're okay with that, Coach. But I think that's what people have to understand. You don't need to pay for someone to get you a look. All you need to do is have someone send it for you.
Yeah, the whole social media thing, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all Snapchat, all that sort of stuff is, it's really kind of helped kids kind of get their profiles out there. I get kids to follow me just about every day, and they send me their film and they say, Coach, I just want a chance. We've helped a lot of young men get placed in the U.S. For no charge. And man, man, Stone, this game has given us so much, right? I mean,
tell me about it.
You know, I mean, I just feel so grateful to have done some of the things that I've done. You know, God, you know, my mother passed about 10 years ago. God bless her soul. And, you know, if she would have been around with me going to Australia and me going to China and just doing all the things that I've done with you know, this game of football, I mean, she would have been like, you know, I mean, one, she'd have been with me because there's no way I would have gone to Australia and not had to include her somehow if she would have kicked my butt. But, you know, to be able to do all this stuff, you know, you got to pay it forward, man. It's just good karma, you know. So
listen.
So anybody that's listening, you know, if there's a young cat out there out in, you know, you know, hey, if you're playing football in Vietnam and you want to try and come to the U.S., all you got to do is find me on Twitter, follow me, send me your film. And like Coach said, if you won't fit in what we're doing, you know, I will send your film out to all the guys that I know, and I will repost it on Twitter and resend it out and do my best to kind of just help make that dream come true because, you know, through football, a lot of my dreams have come true, man.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. Coach Crosby, myself, and I know, I don't mean to throw Coach Wilson, and he probably won't care, but we have so much from this game, like you were saying, right? Now, if the kid, like example, your kid from Vietnam, right? If he's not a great player, listen, we'll try our best, but don't be upset if you don't play. You know what I'm saying? Just the experience yourself playing on an American team is priceless, right? I would say that, right, Crosby?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's priceless. You know, there's things I've done in my college career that I'm phenomenal. You know, I was able to play. I had the fortune to play indoor football, and I loved it. I loved it. I mean, it's just, you know, so if you have that dream to play sports, any sport, don't ever stop that. You know, don't ever stop believing in yourself. Work hard at it. I mean, we have ladies on our team that play it, and they are still playing it. You know, and then there are some unfortunate ones like Christy Moran. I don't know how many more years she's going to be playing, but she's a really good running back for the Australian Outback team, and she was phenomenal. She came and played with the States this past year. So
yeah, I mean, there's just, you know, there's a place for everybody to play, you know. And, you know, I talk to kids a lot because I played at Division III school. Coach, you played at a Division III school. And
Division II, Division III, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're like, yeah, so what if it's not scholarship ball? At least you're still playing. And you know what? I still talk to guys that I played with on my offensive line, you know, back in, you know, the late 1990s, you know, and it's just, you know, the bonds that can be created through this game, you know, can last a lifetime. They really can.
Well, you're just talking about there with the, you know, that sold me right there, bonds, right? You know, the bond you have with Coach Chappie, Coach Kerr. I mean, that's things you have. You know, Coach Bryce, Coach Rob, Coach Jenkins, Coach Dane, you know, Coach Calvin. You know, there's all those coaches on our staff. Coach Stevens, you know, Coach Katz. You know, I mean, those are things you can never, ever forget. You know, and there's also and Coach Josh. Josh, don't get mad, Coach Josh too. But you know, that's a crazy. You know, because you know what happens. You forget one coach, right? You're in deep trouble. I probably forgot one. No offense. I know Coach Ken, Coach K, and Coach Walter. But
I guarantee you. I guarantee you, we're gonna get a message from Kyle, you know, from the Beloit days, and he's like, hey,
dude,
why didn't you guys mention me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be. Hey, let's not put it past the guy, right? You know. So,
exactly. Right.
You know, or Zach Bach. You know, he's gonna be like, why didn't you guys message me? You know, you talk about Hayden for like 2 minutes, and I get like 30 seconds, you know, or whatever. But you know, Coach, that's awesome. You know, and I want to wish you luck with the junior Outback team. I know you're going to do great. You know, when Coach Chappie asked, you know, hey, I need a couple American guys that are good, I thought of you guys, and I thought you'd get right away. So I know you do the USA proud for helping out Team Australia with that. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that.
No, man. Hey, you know, it's a, you kind of gave me the opportunity. I'm glad it came my way, and you know, I think we're doing really good things, you know, down there, and you know, this, you know, it's gonna be a tough field this year, but I feel like you know, we've improved that we've improved that program a lot, and we've improved the game in the country, and there's a ton more participation. And, we just did the selection camp in January, and it was, we had a lot of good football players down there, and some guys got left off. And, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have gotten left off because there's just so much more depth in the country now. And, we're going in a good direction. And I feel as long as those kids, we're going to do well. I feel like we're going to represent Australia very well in Mexico.
Well, that's awesome, Coach. There's the whistle. We're going to go to 2-minute warning. Before we start the 2-minute warning, the one thing I would say to all the junior Outback players that made it, listen, 2 things. Make sure you're coachable. Have a big heart. Your work ethic is huge. No days off, okay? So anyone that made that team, that I think you guys have an A and B squad. Is that correct, Coach Crosby?
Yeah. We got 45 on the A squad and then 15 guys on the B squad. And, man, we got some good talent, man. We really do.
So all I would say to any of those guys on that roster, both rosters, no days off. Work out. Do something. Do some FBI, football intelligence. Do something to make yourself better. And guess what? Like I said earlier, the cream will rise to the top. And if it's not your opportunity this year, there's always next year. And if there's not that opportunity there, send your film to Coach Crosby, myself, or Coach Wilson, and we'll try to find you a home. Now, you might have to pay. Now, none of these, that's one thing we probably should have said, Coach Crosby. There's probably going to be no free rides. You know what I mean? But, there's always scholarships and things like that. So, but let's do this.
Well, I mean, Coach, you can't. Yeah, go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's very rare a kid goes to college for free. So, there's always going to be a cost. And at the end of the day, it's an investment in yourself. And that's what I try to explain to guys. Because you're going to be able to, your earning potential is going to be much higher with a bachelor's degree. No question about it.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question. Here's a cool thing. Like, I still have student loans, right? How many, do you still have student loans?
Yeah.
Okay. So we both still have student loans, right? I was very fortunate right out of college going right to get my master's to be a GA, like you were saying. You got your master's degree too, right? Because you were a GA?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So we both have our master's degree. So the education we have is just really high and things like that. So that's the one thing. Make sure you get your education because you never know when your last down is called. You never know that, players. So if you're a player, youth, middle school, high school, whatever, Outback or overseas, you never know when that last down is going to occur. So make sure you're always doing everything, always going 100 miles per hour. All right, Coach, 2-minute warning. It's your time to shine. You do whatever you want for 2 minutes. Your words of wisdom. I hear you clicking all your notes together you were using. I'm just kidding. But go ahead. What's a quote you want to leave with us, or you can leave us with a quote after you give us a little 2 minutes of your wisdom, or a little saying you said, earlier, like chase the dragon, or things like that. The floor is yours. 2-minute warning. Go ahead, Coach.
Hey, boy, the game of football can give you so much, but you gotta. The only way you get it is the only way you get the reward is if you put in the hard work, and that's anything in life, man. I mean, boy, I thought I knew a lot when I was 2 years into coaching. I thought I knew everything when I was 5 years into coaching. When I got 10 years into coaching, I realized I didn't know nothing. and now I'm just starting to kind of catch up to being a knowledgeable coach, and And as anything goes in life, it's never done. You always got to have that thirst. You always got to have that drive. And really the biggest thing is, to me, is that I found my passion. I found my love. Okay. I love what I do. I love my profession. I love every second of it. I don't hate going to work. I love going to work. And that's what you need to find as you become an adult. You got to find what drives you. You got to find, what wakes you up in the morning. Okay, so it's very clear that what wakes Coach Stone up is that beautiful wife of his, Kira, right? Because she's really easy on the eyes, and two, she's great.
I outpunted my coverage, like Coach Wallace would say.
Hey, you definitely outkicked your coverage. you know. But that's why you married her so early, you know. But but
I wasn't stupid.
You just gotta,
I wasn't stupid. I wasn't.
Well, I hope she doesn't listen to this because I can't ever see her.
Thank God, she's not one of my. I only have like 7 listeners now. They said, so that's good. You know.
Hey, you got 8 now, so.
You didn't even know how many kids I had. You were like 4. Wait, 5, 6, 7. You know. So you're good. Don't worry. Go ahead.
But you just got to find the thing that you love in life. And a lot of it can be your spouse, okay? It can be, your work. It can be anything. Just whatever drives you. And if you can be one of those rare people that you can have your profession as your passion, boy, man, that's a great combination in life. And, you may not make a lot of money, but, man, you're going to be pretty happy as far as your quality of life. And that's a big, big thing. One thing about you, Coach, is that you are a educator, okay? You're a teacher of football. You're a teacher of, physical fitness. You are a teacher of phys ed as far as writing your books and trying to teach other teachers, okay? So you are an educator. That's what drives you. So if you can find that in life, man, you're going to live a good life. However long it is, it's going to be a good one, man, and you're going to enjoy it.
Well, that's awesome, Coach. Here's the thing I'm going to say to all the listeners today. I want to thank everybody for listening. But here's the thing I'm going to say. If you would ever want Coach Crosby, myself, Coach Wilson, us 3 to come to your country, do a coaching clinic, do some camps, with Coach Stone football, we are ready. I hope Coach Wilson knows he's ready. If he's not, Coach Mark Wilson, if he's not ready, he is now. So if anybody out there listening overseas, want us to come, we'll do a glazier clinic. We'll do a glazier type clinic where we X's the nose and things like that, and then we can even evaluate players, while we're out there, and things like that. So I'm just telling you, Coach Crosby, we're probably gonna have to do a trip together overseas. I know we haven't yet, but that's something we're probably gonna have to do down the road.
We've had enough recruiting trips together. I think we know we'll be okay.
I think we'll be fine. And my wife will definitely be okay with that. We don't have to worry about her giving birth and then 2 days later leaving for Australia. That's not going to happen again. So we're all good with that.
Now backstory to some of the talk. Obviously Coach Stone and I, we worked together for 3 years at Beloit College, and
correct.
We recruited together, we coached together, we hung out together. But boy, that stuff is 8 years ago now, Coach. So, we're a little bit older, a little bit wiser.
So, a little bit wiser.
But hey, man, before we go, I just want to congratulate you on all your success. Writing your book, doing the women's national team down there, running your camps, everything that's come across in your life, you deserve because you're a good man in this world, and you are somebody I am very proud to say is my friend. Okay, not a former colleague, not any of that stuff. You are my friend. And,
football family, man. Football family.
Yeah, anything that comes, all the good that comes to you is because of all the good you've put out there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening to the Coach Stone podcast. This is Coach Stone podcast number 7. I want to thank JC Hawks Radio, the JC Hawks Sports Network. I want to thank Coach Crosby. Hey, really, no offense, man. You're like a brother to me, and I appreciate from the bottom of my heart all those kind words you did. And, I know you probably don't know this, or maybe you do, Gene. I have another book coming out really soon. It's a football drill book. I was writing it last night. I think I'm up at the 385 pages, so I either got to cut it down or something. But just want to say thank you again for all the kind words. Our next guest for Coach Stone Podcast 8 will be announced shortly. I want to tell the listening audience, always remember instilling confidence by laying a foundation when you're teaching athletes. Thank you, and have a great day.
Coach Stone Podcast.